Welcome to episode 5 of the Otaku Informers podcast. The summer game informers have begun! So, how are you doing, Felipe? I'm here. My name is Rashid. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Matt and Felipe. So, how are you doing, Felipe?
Pretty good here. It's Summerfest talk, but it's still not truly summer here, but it's just as hot. When it's not raining, of course.
How are you doing, Matt?
Pretty much the same. Like, it's already way too hot for me. But, hey, and it's not even summer yet. But that's why I have the air conditioning and an additional fan just, like, blaring at me, because I'm like, I want to be as cool as I can be.
You're already cool in my eyes.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I know that at work, at your job, they need to have a certain temperature to turn on the AC. I hope that at your house you can turn it on whenever you want.
At my house, I'm like, I'm gonna make it freezing.
Perfect. Go catch them ice Pokemons. All right. So,
yeah, exactly.
This is the Otaku Informers podcast. First, as we like to try to do at the beginning of each episode, what is an otaku? So apparently, CNN thinks that otaku is a dirty word, or tries to clarify that it's not a dirty word. So no, otaku is definitely not a dirty word. Otaku is a Japanese word for geek and nerd, and according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it just means that it's about someone who's very obsessed about something, usually that is anime or manga. But if you guys know any of us, we're obsessed. We're definitely otakus. So first and foremost,
I think the better word would be passionate. Just because I think passion is a nicer sounding word. Passionate.
You're playing music to my ears, Felipe. Is that how you talk to the ladies? You're like, I'm a very passionate guy. I'm not an otaku.
I'm passionate. I'm not obsessed.
I am 100% with you. I like to say that I am a very passionate guy. It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you can be too passionate, but at the same time, some people are not passionate enough. So you gotta take it and take some and lose some. So, Felipe, Matt, do you have any comment on the definition of otaku or passionate? Okay, I guess Matt has nothing to say. There was a long silence there.
I don't. How about you, Felipe? I think that's great.
I'm gonna try and get it.
I'm just like, no.
I re-listened.
Yeah, let's take it for another day. Sorry, go ahead. What did you listen to?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, you're gonna notice this will often happen because I'm trying from now on to be a better host and always ask you guys your opinion. Sometimes I noticed I can like skip over a subject, one of you guys. So get ready for me to throw the ball at you. All right. So
that's okay. We're just like we're newbies, so learning and go to take a cue and be patient and wait our turns to talk about. But like I got interrupted a little bit. Sorry, excuse me.
Please.
Yeah.
Please don't. Both of you don't hesitate to cut me off at any time. I'm trying to be a better host, and that means making space for you guys to speak more. So because we're trying to post clips, I have a little bit of housekeeping. So we're on the channel. You may notice clips of episodes popping up here and there, and this is us trying to make it easier for people who don't have 2+ hours to listen to three unknowns like us. So yeah. So today is a very video game heavy news podcast. We have a lot of informing to do, so we will not be jumping on the Japan report or the Otaku report, but there was a breaking news yesterday that we have to open the Otaku report for this.
Yeah.
Let me guess. I don't know, but like judging this is like new. I
As
think
the
it's something to do.
resident Game of Thrones expert.
Yes, I knew it's something to do with Game of Thrones, but I don't know what.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, please. So it shook the Game of Thrones community or the A Song of Ice and Fire book series community on Twitter, on Reddit, on YouTube. I'm part of a lot of those communities. So everyone was losing their mind yesterday at this shocking news. Game of Thrones by the Hollywood Reporter reports, which is a very legit magazine. Jon Snow sequel series in development at HBO, which will happen post season 8 of Game of Thrones, the infamous season 8. So I was very curious to know your opinion first. Sorry, Felipe. Matt, I know you've watched Game of Thrones. What was your first reaction to this?
Why? That was my first. Just a big why exactly? Because like it ended off so badly. Prequel, I get, especially because the prequel, George R.R. Martin already wrote a big book about it, right? Like there's so much material that they can use for the prequel that it should be fine because they have all this material from the original guy. But for a sequel, I'm like, guys, did you see what happened in the last 2 seasons where you had no material to work with? It just ended terribly. And now you want to do a sequel series where you'll have even less to work with? I'm like, oh no. And also, I'm like, why not Arya? Like, Arya is going to the west of Westeros. Like, you could do anything you want with that. Why stick with Jon Snow? But that's my 2 cents. I want to hear from the Game of Thrones master.
Go ahead.
Before that, I am a noob. I haven't got into it ever, but like I heard, didn't he die or something? Spoiler alert! Oh shit.
Dude,
so if that's
okay.
the case, how? Because money, by the way. It's always because money.
He did not die, by the way.
Didn't he die, or am
No.
I confused? Okay, I'm confused about the character.
Technically, he died, but then he came back. And like, this isn't a spoiler. It's a spoiler for a season that you should have seen by now.
After all the crap that Game of Thrones has received for his last season, so we're allowed to spoil it. You know what I mean? In the sense that like, after all the controversy surrounding it. So look, this is a video game focused episode, so I have a million things to say about this, but I do want to say I really like where your mind went, Matt, because you said something that an argument I had not heard people say, even though I'm sure they thought it, which is, do you see how it ended terribly when you ran out of material, and now you're gonna have even less material, which is a very, very good point. So the Game of Thrones book readers community is outraged by this. They're very angry. But me, I like to think that as a passionate Game of Thrones fan, I am very, very happy about this. For 2 reasons. One is something that we talked about at episode 1 of the Otaku Informers podcast, is Dexter. I think Dexter is a very good comparison. So Dexter had a horrible season 8, and for 10 years people talked about how horrible Dexter ended, and then they did a sequel season, 1 season, or maybe more, who knows. And now I love Dexter again. And now I'm very happy with how Dexter ended. They literally fixed the ending. So, Matt, do you think there's any hope they can fix the ending?
Yeah, like, I would love if they were able to do like a Game of Thrones New Blood version ending. That would be great. But do I actually think it'll happen? I don't know. All depends on who they get to like actually direct it and like write it. I really hope J.R.R. Tolkien, not Tolkien. Martin,
I do this all the time.
Martin would at least be advising. Like, I really hope they'd be like, can you give us some pointers at least, or like, can you at least point us in a direction you want to go to? But yeah, I have cautious hope. Cautious hope it would work.
So 3 points, and then we can close the subject. First, actually, the book fans are super angry at George R. R. Martin because he said in the latest blog the books are no longer his top priority. Book 6 is no longer his top priority, and the TV shows are. He's working closely with HBO on every single project that they're working on for Game of Thrones. They're making sure that what happened doesn't happen again, because people don't realize, but he left the writer's room of Game of Thrones at the end of season 4. And the reason was because he got, like, the creators, Benioff and Weiss, he told them there's this thing that happens, spoiler from the book, Catelyn Stark, a major thing that happens in the books is that she comes back to life, right? And the Benioff and Weiss,
she's like Stoneheart or something.
yes,
right?
she's Lady Stoneheart, and
Lady Stoneheart or something.
yeah, Lady Stoneheart, she's like a vengeful spirit, and they cut off her throat at the Red Wedding so she can't speak. So, but yeah, and
Right.
George R. R. Martin told them you have to include her in the series if you want the real ending, and they were like, nah, we're good. So
DLC.
yeah, so George R. R. Martin was no longer involved with the Game of Thrones TV show from season 5, and that's really where it went bad. So now that they say clearly he's going to be involved with every project, I'm very, very happy. And second thing, there is a very big theory that they could link this to House of the Dragon. I don't know if you remember how season 8 ended, but there were a lot of loose ends. First, Bran becomes king. Bran, he says at the end of the show, I'm not Bran anymore. I'm not Brandon Stark. I am the Three-Eyed Raven. There's this theory that I love.
Right.
Okay, because they never said who the Three-Eyed Raven was in the show. In the books, he's a Targaryen bastard from the Blackfyre Rebellion that the House of the Dragon is going to focus on. And the Blackfyre Rebellion, so technically, do you know how House of the Dragon is because the Targaryens started being so powerful, they started like having sex left and right, so they were Targaryen bastards that were born, right? So what happened to those Targaryen bastards? They can ride dragons too. They basically, these Targaryen bastards created their own house called the Blackfyre, and they said, we're going to take back the throne. That was their dream, right? And basically, the theory, we know in the books that the Three-Eyed Raven is Brynden Rivers, which is a Targaryen. He's a Blackfyre, meaning he's in possession of Bran's body, and he's on the throne. So what the Blackfyre started in the House of the Dragon, they finally succeeded their mission through Bran at the end of Game of Thrones. If they can link it that way, that would be incredible. Third thing, what happened with the dragon Drogon that after burning the Iron Throne he just took off? We don't know what happened with that. And you said it earlier, and I'm closing in with this. Sorry, Jon Snow died. He is an undead. How are they not going to explain that he's just going to live the rest of his life as an undead? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. We said we were going to spoil it. So there are a lot of loose ends that they can tie. I'm very excited for the TV show. And I'll leave you with this last, what I would do. Jon Snow, the new Night King. He's half undead.
Sure.
He's
the immortal Night King.
You know, I do big efforts not to talk about Game of Thrones on this show, so now that there's a big news, I'm sorry that I'm taking time. And the reason why I'm saying the Night King, and this is the Night King doesn't exist in the books. You know, the leader of the White Walkers does not exist in the books. All White Walkers are equal, so they don't have a king. The Night King exists in a fairy tale in the books. He was a Stark, a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, who fell in love with a woman from beyond the wall, and this woman was a White Walker. White Walkers are very different in the books. They're like a lot more human-like. They're like another race of like undead, of ice people. And he had sex with this undead White Walker, with this White Walker lady. And by having sex with her, he became half White Walker, half human. And they called him the Night King. And she was his Night Queen. And they ruled like for a long time. Not for a long time, but anyway. All of this, it sounds a lot to me like Jon Snow. Jon Snow was a Stark Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and we know he has a weakness for ladies from beyond the wall.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done. So this was I tried as fast as possible to give you two very big theories, And this was the Otaku Report.
And stay concise. Stay concise. All right, good job.
I'm not obsessed with Game of Thrones, I'm just very passionate.
You're right.
All right. So, anything else about Game of Thrones, or
We're
are we
done.
gonna dive into gaming?
One
Alright.
day I
Let's
do
dive.
want
Let's
one day I
dive.
do want to do an episode called "The Informer That Was Promised" instead of "The Prince That Was Promised."
Yes. Or we can name it "You Know Nothing, Game Informers."
Oh, you knew nothing, Informers. All right, you say, "Oh my God, don't open the Game of Thrones door ever again." So, Felipe, do you know what the Summer Game Fest is?
Yes, it was full of announcements. Like personally, I only care about 2.5 of them. I'm happy about the first one. They opened with Monster Hunter, but I'm glad I never got into it. Right? You have the announcement talk about the Summerfest, but like Capcom game show. They started with Monster Hunter. It's a franchise I never really got into it, but surprisingly, I played for the first time when I visited a friend in Japan in 2016, and I played for like a couple hours, and I understand the hype of the franchise, but I just don't want to get into it because I'd be stuck there. Just like that's the same reason why I never got into like League of Legends or World of Warcraft or StarCraft, whatever, because I know I would be very competitive. Monster Hunter drains you, it would drain your time. I remember already being passionate, obsessed with like Digimon World 1 in the PS1. I spent over 900 hours just collecting items and trying to complete what the equivalent of trophies was way back in the PS1 era. Like, and even the Game Boy Advance Pokemon Ruby, spending 900 hours plus getting contest ribbons. And like, I know Monster Hunter would be a fun chore. Just like I'm happy that I don't have Breath of the Wild to collect all this stuff, right? But anyway, some fun announcements for like not Game of Thrones. What the hell? No, let's not open that door again. About Monster Hunter, like some cool announcements.
I know.
But
Let's have a very quick hot take. Breath of the Wild is overrated and not a good game. There we go.
All
That's my
right.
hot take.
So we don't have the graphic, but
okay.
ding, we have a hot take corner. Hot take corner. So, Matt, you're aware that in Japan, Breath of the Wild was, I think, named best game of all time?
Oh yeah, I know. I know my opinion is very controversial, but it's not a fun game and boring and not great. I'm
Do you
still
just
looking
like
forward to the
this
second one, because the sequel looks like they've added enough to make it interesting. But the first one, I was like, it's cool, alright.
So do you
That's my
just
hot take.
dislike how the weapons break? Anyway, we'll get there. Another thing. So
Yeah,
let's continue.
Oh,
I didn't want
sorry.
to derail it. It just I had a hot take, so I had to say it. You can go back to what you were saying. My
No,
apologies.
no, it's okay. We'll remember that hot take and we'll expand another day on different DLC episode.
So, good thing that we haven't started talking about the big stuff. Just, I lowered my mic volume because I think Felipe told me it's a bit too sharp. So let me know if my mic. I'm like still testing my mic. So
Yeah.
I lowered it by 1/5. So I think it should be better. All right. So one question, Matt. Actually, one question, Felipe. You've never played Breath of the Wild, right?
No, I haven't. I just saw like way too many reviews and extra stuff we can do, and I might as well like have played a big chunk of the game.
How about Matt? When
I
did you
did
play?
play.
I played
Yeah.
it when it came out. So
Okay.
like when the Switch came out, I bought it, and Breath of the Wild was the first thing I played.
Sorry, Felipe, I cut you off. Continue.
No, no, just gonna say like I played Hyrule Warriors, but it's not canon. Age of Calamity, right? That's the sequel. But like I wonder like how much it's supposed to be like a sort of sequel, like in between
It's
Breath
a
1 and 2.
prequel, kind of. It's like prequel type it's not really canon. It's basically like alternate universe Breath of the Wild.
Well, just to
Oh, that's what it is.
just to close your hot take, I honestly also really did not. Well, not really, but I did not like Breath of the Wild to the point that I returned it. I think me is because I played it too late, years after it came out, like 2020, and the whole weapons breaking, all the dungeons being the same puzzles over and over is kind of like almost like pre-generated, like in a world post Elden Ring where every single dungeon is handcrafted to feel completely different. I think Breath of the Wild aged. So I don't know, maybe you would still like it, Felipe. I'd be curious. But yeah, I agree with your hot take. We closing the hot
Okay.
take corner.
All right. So, how do you feel about Monster Hunter? Have you guys played that?
Good question. I honestly, I've only played a little bit on PSP, and I remember the PSP was widely popular in Japan because people were playing Monster Hunter on it. And I know Monster Hunter is like, I don't know why, it's just it never really broke in the West. What do you think?
Yeah,
I
until
think it's been
Monster Hunter
slowly.
World, one on PS4, that's the one that really got it popular in back home, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Wasn't it the same era where like Digimon Cyber Sleuth was coming out? Digimon Cyber Sleuth? Because it's slowly been taking out, but it's still popular more in Japan, which is one of their biggest franchises in Capcom, one of their biggest IPs. They make a ton of money, I guess, enough to justify not reviving risks. Like there's so many IPs. Their catalog is huge, and it's like, nah, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter, Resident Evil. We don't need anything else.
Well, we are going to talk about the Capcom showcase soon, but I asked you, do you know what the Summer Game Fest is, Felipe? And you answered the wrong answers by the wrong answer. So I'll ask Matt, what is the Summer Game Fest, Matt?
So the Summer Game Fest is a group of announcements and it's like the replacement for E3 made by this guy called Jeff Keighley. So Jeff Keighley is this video game journalist slash presenter for a long time ago. I think he's actually Canadian because he used to be on a Canadian video game show called Reviews on the Run. And
Oh,
he
I know
used to
that.
be like
Really?
a co-host for that before he got really popular. So I think either he's Canadian or he just like guest hosted on that show a lot. But like basically now he's like one of the biggest video game journalist type presenters in North America. So he took it. He also runs and creates the Video Game Awards in December. So he does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm aware of
And this
that.
is
I just
basically
didn't.
his replacement of E3.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But like, so why do they call it just? It's because of like some companies basically ran out of E3, so they just changed the name, right? But it's basically the same thing.
No, 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 not at all. So it has nothing to
No,
do
no,
with
no,
No?
E3.
no. Has nothing to do with that. He named it Summer Game Fest, where he asks all the different companies, "Hey, can you bring your presentations to my week-long little event,
Yeah.
and then we can just keep it all together and celebrate gaming and stuff like that."
So
And I think I
Nicholas,
explained it well, right?
you explained it perfectly. You even told me something I didn't know because I was confused about one thing. I didn't know Jeff Keighley until 2 years ago when I watched the first Video Game Awards. So basically, Jeff Keighley, from what I know, Felipe, he created his own award show, and he's very good at social media. So in the video game industry, people really like him, and he's a really, really nice guy. And he created his own award show that is now the award show. It's like the Oscars of the video games. And during the Video Game
Yeah.
Awards in December, he started getting big companies to announce new games during the Game Awards. And then he was like, I should do the same thing, but in summer, now that E3 is dying. But this year, unfortunately, for me, well, Matt, do you consider, for me, the Summer Game Fest is what happens that one day during the Jeff Keighley event. If there is a conference
Right.
5 days later, is this still considered as part of his Summer Game Fest?
Yeah, like take the state of play from Sony. they had the little Summer Game Fest logo on the bottom of their thumbnail for that video. So it's still part of the Summer Game Fest. And like, so the actual Summer Game Fest is the week-long thing of each company doing different announcements, and then Jeff Keighley's main show, which was like 3 hours long or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that this is everything that happens in that week.
So basically, I was very disappointed by the 3-hour show because in the whole 3 hours, let's go through the announcements. So Summer Game Fest logo is on the screen. So from now on, we're gonna go through the big announcement that I thought were kind of interesting. So first, Callisto Protocol. I'm not into horror games. I was wondering what you guys think about this.
I'll let Felipe go first. I've been talking too much.
I know it's okay. You can talk as much. I don't mind. Like, I love horror. Like, I think it's a good game to try to get back into it, especially because I personally prefer third person over first person, which is the reason why I haven't beaten like Village yet, and or even like 7 too. I'm like it's not the first person perspective that's going to make me scared. It's the stories, the atmosphere, is the backgrounds, is everything else. Not just being like stuck in controls that I'm not sure if it's going to be responsive or not. So this is a good game to try to come back to it, and it looks an interesting premise. I just love post-apocalyptic or chaos, maybe just too dark. So I find like it's a good game.
It's by the people who made Dead Space, right? I've never played Dead Space, but I know it's popular. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, it like the main director of the original Dead Space left EA, and then he made this new game company, and then he brought over a bunch of the other people that worked with him on the first 2 Dead Space games. So like when I saw the trailer on Summer's Game Fest, I thought it was a trailer for the Dead Space remake, because it's so much like Dead Space. I was like, okay, this looks really different compared to what they showed of the Dead Space remake before. And then the title shows up, Callisto Protocol, and I go, oh, okay, now it makes sense. It's like everything was Dead Space inspired. Dead Space, you have the health bar on your back. This one, it's on your neck. It's like the angles and like the monsters looked very much the same, and how you have to like cut the limb, like shoot the limbs off. And I was like, okay, like this is almost too much like Dead Space. Like, is EA actually okay with this? Because I'm like, this is really close to what Dead Space is, but it looks really cool. I don't like horror games either. I'm like you, Rashid. I don't really tend to play horror games, but like I watched a guy on YouTube play through the first 2 Dead Space games, and that's how I know about it. And like, they're really cool games. I would never play them because I do not like horror games. I do not like to be scared. That's just not me. But
the first
I would probably watch someone playing Callisto.
No, I was just gonna say the first Dead Space came out in 2008. I know nothing about the series, so I just googled it real quick. Interesting, because I think it's on the PS Plus Premium Pass. I think I saw one of them, but anyway.
So it might be.
Felipe, have you ever played a Dead Space?
No, I just saw like a few scenes here and there. It looked interesting. But the one thing that you talked about, like comment about like EA being okay with this similar games, like was the expression in English something about flattery? I forgot the expression now, but like something about
imitation is the best form of flattery.
Oh.
Yeah, imitation. Oh yeah, imitation best form of flattery. And I was thinking about how when Inafune left Capcom and he created his own Mighty Number 9, and it sucked because of various reasons. It's still pretty much the same thing as Mega Man, but it wasn't. Or how I think Shinji Mikami made Psycho Breaker, in Japan, which is the evil within. That's pretty much like Resident Evil original. So,
and
it's still the same but different.
I was gonna say also Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood. Like Back 4 Blood is the same creators of Left 4 Dead, but it's a different company and it's like the same game. I think it must be hard to sue a video game for like plagiarism, because like there must be like so many video games that look alike. I don't know. There has to be complicated
Well,
laws
yeah,
and everything.
it's the genre, it's the setting. It's like trying to sue every single platform because Mario did it before, right?
Exactly.
So not Sony. Nintendo suing every platform, like it's the same thing.
Could you imagine having like the rights on platform games? Like it's like only I can make platform games, or like only I can make like first-person shooter. That'd be crazy. All right. So next and
That's the same level of them as copywriting certain words. But anyway, yes, let's move on.
so no, let's close out the Callisto Protocol, Felipe. If you if it is if you have access to Dead Space in the PS Plus Premium, would you play it? And would you would you be interested in getting into this series? As a fan of horror
Dead
games.
Space, the Callisto I'll try. That is, if I ever do upgrade, I'm okay with like just regular plus. But if I get extra, maybe. But Dead Space is already an old franchise. Me personally, this is my hot take and controversial opinion. I don't like trying too many new IPs because of time and other various reasons, the comfort and just trying to. Because I also love storytelling. So if there's a franchise I love, it's controversial that I'd love to be expanding sideways or just the same universe or because of the MCU type of thing, right? I love something that is related to something that exists. That's why I don't try too many new IPs because of time and other stuff, right? So I
Yeah.
would try Callisto, not Dead Space.
Well, I just learned something new about you. So next piece of news, I put it right after this. It's for you, Felipe, and for you, Matt. One Piece Odyssey on course for 2022 release. Have you seen the trailer for the new One Piece game? And as a very passionate One Piece fan, what do you think about this, Felipe?
I personally, I would just say I love the story. I love the world, of course. Everybody should know by now. Like, there's always a reference. I find this idea interesting. I am not going to talk about everybody's hating on or commenting heavy. Oh, the graphics, whatever, looks like PS2. Like, look at the graphic of the anime itself. It already looks goofy to say the least. So even if the graphic of a video game looks not current like the current gen, who cares? It's an original story. So if it's written by by Oda, that's all that we care. And it's kind of like open world, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd love to give it a try, but they sort of tried that with like I think it was like World Seeker. So I wonder how like expansive the world's going to be. But I'm mostly looking forward to like One Piece movie Red in August. But anyway, let's not get too far on it.
You
So I
digress.
find an interesting concept. I do not share the same hate as other people commenting, "Oh, the graphic looks bad." Like, so what?
You see, we're kind of like each other because I also do not share the hate of people who just like hate for, I don't know, for the sake of being negative. Like, give it a chance. I don't know. The trailer looked kind of cool. I thought of you, Felipe. What did you think about the One Piece game trailer, Matt?
I do like that it's a turn-based RPG. Like, I love me some turn-based RPGs. Evidently, like you look at the shirt I'm wearing. I love turn-based, but that's what got me interested. Like, I've never actually played a One Piece game that much. I think like the most I've ever played was this One Piece game way back on the PS2. I don't remember what it was, but like I rented it from Blockbuster one day and I was like, "Oh, what's this game?" And like I played it for the week and I'm like, "Okay, that was cool." And then I just gave it back. Like I've never been into the One Piece games, but this one I was like, I don't know, I might give it a shot.
First of all, for our viewers to know, like, what is this blockbuster you speak of?
Oh yeah,
It's a
like
joke.
oh yeah,
Blockbuster.
that's
Wow.
right. I'm old now. Blockbuster was a store where you used to go into the store and pick out games and you could rent them. You don't buy them. You had to bring them back a week later. But yeah, that was a thing.
Thank, thanks for actually answering that. Wow. But okay, yeah. So interesting.
So
Hey,
you,
I'm sure there's some young people that don't know what Blockbuster is. I'm
oh,
just doing my
100%,
service.
100%.
Just
Yeah.
I have
What
a
about you, Craig?
yeah. Well, You said something that piqued my interest about the One Piece game. Is it written by Oda himself? Goda, the mangaka of One Piece, is writing it?
It's
Uh,
advised by him. He's advising it. I
yeah,
don't think he's
it,
the actual writer, but he's
yeah,
like Martin, where he's advising everything and looking through the story and make sure it makes sense.
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Just like some
I'm
of the
so
later
jealous.
movies have been like supervised, or even like the Dragon Ball movies, Toriyama accepted certain character design or provided certain design. So if it's overlooked, overseen, not overlooked, overseen by Oda, then it has potential to be great. Plus, it's an original story. I love the Muso games, which is basically the Dynasty Warriors clone.
Yeah.
Like I have all four. They have, and they're just like fun summaries of the whole story. Basically, they just go through the story like arcs, and you go. It's a Muso game. It's a Dynasty Warriors clone. But for people who are already fans, it's enjoyable just to see your characters moving. But it's a summary, so it's decent for like newcomers. If you don't know nothing, you just play the game. Just like on a small related tangent, the Berserk Band of the Hog game is another Muso clone, but it's a nice summary of every single arc, which by the way
Yeah.
should get the DLC. But I digress. Let's not
Is
get
it a
into that. Let's
summary
not
of
open that
the
can.
of the arc from the manga, or the arc from like the anime? From the manga?
Like it's a summary of every arc of the manga. Yeah, like the last
Wow.
chapter of the game ends where Zod and Berserk team up to fight the Ganesha, I think, the cloud demon guy thing. And it ends there because the manga was early on. So they
The
still need to go to the Mermaid Island. I forgot the name of the arc, but they still could add DLC. Which,
hmm.
small tangent, sorry. Like, now that we had that announcement that Berserk is coming back, we'll expand on it a bit soon, maybe, or another episode. Now it's the perfect time to just go back to this game and add DLC. I digress. Let's
Yeah,
go back to
I'm
the
gonna catch
topic.
up with the chapters. No, no, dude, the Berserk is very relevant nowadays. But yeah, one last question: which console, which system is the Berserk game for?
PS4.
It's PS4. Well, okay. Honestly,
The band of the Hawk.
you've sold me on it. If there's one Muso game that I would play, it's freaking Gatsu destroying an army by himself. Okay, but I
It's so
digress.
satisfying. Yeah.
So to close out the One Piece chapter, so
This-
it's supervised by Oda. Wow, I'm very impressed. I'm very jealous because I used to play a lot of like Naruto games and Dragon Ball games and even a JoJo game, and I've never played an anime-based game where you have an original story supervised by the mangaka. That's amazing. Felipe, one day, do you want to do a trade? You watch 80 episodes of Game of Thrones, and I watch the equivalent of time of One Piece. Take it or leave it.
No, that's unfair, dude. Like,
Why is
I
that?
already
There's a minute for minute.
watched. Hold on.
How's that not fair?
No,
That
but
sounds pretty fair to me.
Thank you, Matt. He's the
the,
referee.
for people who don't know, the original deal was I finish Fate Zero, Stay Night, and the Heaven Fuse movies, and then you consider One Piece.
Did you like fall asleep and dream that? Because I've literally never said that. Okay, Fate Zero, you were supposed to start it in 2013. So at that point, like I don't think I had ever talked about One Piece with you. But I digress. Okay,
Yes,
we're not gonna
I'll
look.
take the deal.
I
Yes.
put the deal on the table, take it or leave it. It's there if you want it. So, talking about things that young people nowadays don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge! This was for me, I swear to God, maybe my favorite announcement of the Summer Game Fest of the Keeley event because I thought it had nothing very like of announcement that surprised me except this. They said it was coming out like 2 days after they showed this announcement, and I've been playing and I played it a lot yesterday, and I absolutely love this game. It is really awesome. I used to play the Ninja Turtle on Sega Genesis. I used to go to one of my friend's house just to play Ninja Turtles with him. So like this took me back to my childhood. And I have a friend who's like early 20s who I'm pretty sure he did not know who the Ninja Turtles were. So he would definitely not know what Blockbuster is. So I believe you. So guys, are you guys fan of the Ninja Turtles?
I grew up with TMNT. I played a bit of the arcade, sort of just like at the time there were like the Simpsons arcade game. So I grew up playing those two in arcades. Arcades were a thing in Brazil also, so I'm pretty happy with that. I haven't gotten the game yet, so, but this is the perfect opportunity to get back into like beat 'em ups.
How about you, Matt?
I'm probably the smallest fan of
Okay.
TMNT out of the three of us. Like, I still like it. I still remember watching the cartoon show on Fox Kids back when I was a kid, and like,
Oh,
I watched the good stuff, but like, I never played the old style games. I don't think I played any TMNT games really, to be honest. So like, I like it. It's cool. My favorite is Leonardo because he has the
Nice.
katanas.
yeah, same.
But like, I don't have much to say about this. Just like cool, looks cool. Probably won't play it because I'm not a huge fan. But like, it looks like a cool game for the fans.
You know what should get you excited about this? Me, what I really like is the fact that they released a brand new game made to look like a Super Nintendo game, but made today, not a remake, and the online mode makes it like haven't you ever like wished back in the day like you could just co-op with your friends on a Super Nintendo game, but like online super easily? And this game is 6-player co-op, and I played with 3 other people yesterday, so we were 4, and I'm the one who took Leonardo. So anyway, just wanted to recommend this game for anyone. Oh, and it's free on Game Pass.
Oh, and the best part, it April O'Neil is playable, and she has Chun-Li moves.
She's like the
Chun-Li
most OP
references.
character for real. Like out of the 6 characters right now, I didn't see Casey Jones yet because I think you have to unlock him. But he is very OP, April O'Neil. But anyways, so that was my TMNT Shredder's Revenge recommendation. The next announcement is dead air. Oh, Marvel Midnight Sun. Are you guys interested at all about this? So I have a picture on. The only thing that we learned from the gameplay reveal, well, it's the gameplay. It's like a card game, tactical card game. I'm only excited for this for
It's
one
like
thing.
XCOM. Yeah, it's like XCOM meets like a card game because it's from the makers of XCOM. So of course it's going to be like the tactical RPG style because that's what they do best. But then they add this card game element to it. I'm like,
So it's basically
I played the original
X-Men.
XCOM, and like I never beat it because I got to the last level, and then the game just decided to become a dick and like killed all of my units right away. And I was just like, you know what? Screw this game. I was just like, no, I say good day to you, sir. Like, it's a good game, but that experience, I was like, no, how dare you? Because that's the type of game where once the unit dies, you don't get to revive them. They're dead, right?
Forever?
It's kind of like Fire Emblem in that setting. Yeah, like they're dead. You'd have to get a new guy and train him up again and give him new equipment. So that's why when I get to the final level, I'm making my way through it. I get to the final boss area, and then like this was my first time playing it, so I didn't know how the boss fought. So I put in some of my units. He kills them instantly. I had like one guy left, and I was like, screw you, game, screw you. I'm not playing all of this again. But like it was a good game, but that experience soured it for me. So I don't know if I'll play it again. But yeah, it looks interesting. I like that it's Marvel. So I might give it a shot. I don't know.
I never knew before
How
what
about you
was
guys?
XCOM, so you just informed me a lot because what you just said sold me on the game because I love this type of challenging Fire Emblem like, oh, if somebody dies, they die for good. Like if they had said that in the gameplay reveal, I'm sure a lot more people would have been interested. But how about you, Felipe?
I never played XCOM. I just knew it was like sort of like a tactical RPG, sort of like this guy. I just move people around. That's what I saw the gameplay, but I never got into it. But having that for Marvel, I'm intrigued
Yeah, for
because
real.
I think the last Marvel or Spider-Man game related that I personally played may have been the what? May have been the PS1 game from way back, the Spider-Man way back. That's probably the last one I have played, if I remember correctly. Spider-Man or Marvel altogether. So I am willing to give this a shot.
Well, honestly, every time you say stuff like that, I'm like, dude, the PlayStation Extra would be perfect for you. They literally have Spider-Man and Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I,
Actually, I just
yeah,
played a little bit, like a few hours, Miles Morales, on my friend's PS5 like a few weeks ago, my new Brazilian friend,
nice.
and that game is pretty good. Miles, Ultimate Spider-Man,
I got it
he has
yesterday,
so
by the
many
way.
powers.
I've noticed a trend with Felipe. He loves playing the sequels before the original games. Like he'll play Miles Morales before Spider-Man, and he'll play Persona 5 Strikers before Persona 5. I'm like, this is a trend I do not like.
Next thing you
It's
know,
just
he's gonna play
coincidence.
Crisis Core before playing FF7.
Wait, isn't Crisis Core like a prequel to Final Fantasy?
Yeah, but
It's
it's the
technically.
that's why I say even FF7 remake, you have to play FF7 original. You have to play FF7 original before any other of those series. That's it. It's just because
Alright, I'm not doing this by choice. It just happens. Okay, it's not
but
by
no,
choice that I'm
I know,
choosing
I
to
know.
play sequel.
Well, you're
I know,
also
I
a big
know.
Muso fan. I mean, you seem to really love Muso games. You're Muso resident expert. All right, so I'll just close the subject
Yeah.
on Marvel Midnight Sun. What you said sold me, but if it has any sort of multiplayer, then I'm really down because I love tactical RPGs, but I don't want just like a boring single player tactical RPG. Like I want either something online or co-op or something very challenging. Next announcement, and that is the
The first
last.
two XCOM games did have multiplayer, so I wouldn't be surprised if they added multiplayer to this.
Well, I'm glad you know XCOM because it's one of those games that I've heard so many times about, but literally never Googled, don't know a single picture, don't know what it is, don't know the genre, nothing. So I have been informed. All right, so now
Yeah.
we're going to
Same.
get on the next big topic, which is The Last of Us. So there were two different announcements, maybe three different announcements at the Summer Game Fest. This is what Jeff Keighley ended his 3 hour event with. First, the new Last of Us multiplayer experience is a standalone title. So,
Mhm.
so
Probably called Factions.
my first question is for you, Matt. Have you ever played the old, I think there was one Last of Us Factions that came out previously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I did play. I don't think I played much. I think I only played maybe 5 or 10 hours of the multiplayer from the original Last of Us. And if you've ever played the Uncharted multiplayer, it was basically that, but a little bit more team focused and a little bit more like quicker to kill. Like in the Uncharted games, Uncharted multiplayer, it took a while to kill someone. It was kind of like similar to the game itself, where you'd have to shoot them a lot for them to actually die. But in the Last of Us multiplayer, it was more. I don't want to say it was more like Call of Duty, where it was like one shot, one kill, but like you had a lot less health in that multiplayer game, and it was much more team focused. Like I didn't play Last of Us for the multiplayer. I played it for the story mode, so I didn't play much of it, but Yeah, it was fine enough. It was decent. Like, it wasn't bad, but not something I wanted to play over and over again.
Felipe, do you also have no hope in Sony's capabilities of making an online live service game like me, or do you have more hopes?
Personally, I just say that multiplayer is unnecessary, but I get it. They could sell extra DLC, extra stuff for fun, right? Because it's something. But this type of game is focused on the single player content. Just like your League of Legends or whatever, they just multiplayer. It's set for first person and there's a single story content. So you don't need multiplayer at all. But it's a way to make money on the side. I haven't played. I don't give hoots about that. But I played a bit of the original and Left Behind. I haven't beaten yet, but we don't need a remake. We'll get to like this further, but we don't need a remake.
We're about to get to that. First,
Yeah.
me, all I want to say is I will have hope in Sony's capabilities for online games when Bungie is officially acquired. Did it officially go through like legally and everything? Like, can they like show
Not
up
yet, no.
at Bungie's office tomorrow and like give us your data? You know what I mean? Because that's what Jim Ryan said, right? He was like, they paid $3.45 billion to buy them just so that they help them make multiplayer games because they're like, we suck at it. Until then,
Yeah.
so now he said they wanted 10 PlayStation Live Service games by 2026. So we have Faction, and we also got news that Bend Studio that made Days Gone is currently working on a live service game.
Yeah.
And what is the third one? And I think there's also anyways, I think that's only the two out of 10 that we know so far.
Yeah,
But
they haven't really announced many. They just just said we'll have lots of them, but no announcements yet, other
uh,
than this Last of Us one.
yeah, and that's why it worried me so much. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna have 10 online games by 2026." Whoa, quantity over quality much, but we'll see. And to answer your question,
But they
Felipe,
did mention one thing.
Yes.
Before you ask Felipe, they did mention something. I don't know why they had to specify it, but they're like, Destiny does not we don't include Destiny in this 10 number. Like Destiny is separate. I'm like, but why? Like you will own Bungie and like Destiny is so big and one of the biggest live service games out there right now. Why not include that in your list? But I'm like, whatever, Sony, whatever. But you
Wasn't
can
Destiny multi-platform?
sorry, what?
yeah, Disney's
Wasn't
always been
Destiny
multi-platform.
multi-platform?
Yes.
Yeah, but like
It's
if they
always
go
yeah.
through with the acquisition, would that mean it's exclusive to
No,
PlayStation, or
no.
they're still gonna leave it open?
They
No, they
promised.
make too much money from it.
Yeah, and not only that, I don't know if they lied, but they weirdly promised that Bungie would stay independent, that they could keep doing whatever they want, in the sense that they can all their games are gonna be multi-platform. And honestly, I think Last of Us Faction is gonna be multi-platform too, for one reason, and it answers what you asked earlier. Multiplayer is unnecessary. Apple and Epic sued each other, right? Because Fortnite was like putting microtransactions outside of the Apple Store, and we found out during the trial that Fortnite made $10 billion in 2 years. 10?
Oh my God.
That's 10 Spider-Man No Way Home for a little live service game that started literally with like very low budget and everything. So this is what they're all doing. They're all chasing. Felipe, I heard an echo. I don't know. Should I lower? I'm afraid if I lower my mic, that then my sound is gonna be low. But I can lower my mic if you guys think it's what I should do.
Yeah, you lower your mic a bit more, please.
All right, it's almost halfway. It should be better now.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. Yeah, it is better.
So I just want to close it out with this. I also learned recently that ZeniMax, which owned Bethesda, you know how Xbox bought ZeniMax, which owned Bethesda and like 8 other studios for like $8 billion almost. They apparently had
Yeah.
given an assignment to all their studios to only make multiplayer games. Literally, they're all chasing Fortnite. Like they all want to be the new like Warzone too. I mean, Warzone succeeded. Warzone is huge. So yeah, and like the kids that don't know Blockbuster, like I have a friend who's like early 20s, and he only plays like live service games on PC, like Apex, and all those, like the new generation, they really don't care about single player. Like
That hurts. That
yeah,
hurts.
like David Jaffe said something that I won't forget because it's so true. The PS Plus Extra tier, which has God of War, Death Stranding, and all the amazing Sony games for free, any of the like younger people would look at that list and just laugh because they're like, I don't see Apex or Fortnite or PUBG or Warzone on there. So like single player is like a dying genre. It's becoming very niche. And
Which
It
yeah.
hurts.
no, I just want to say like we expanded like another day. Just like it's weird because if people are like interacting with others less and less, not just because of the pandemic, but other factors, like they're focusing more on this
That's
because
not
they
true.
want to interact with strangers. Because I don't know, it's weird, but
Live
we'll
service
talk
games,
more about that.
you're literally interacting with other people. Single player games, you're alone.
But they're not, yeah, but they're not meeting in person, right? So like they just want
Who
to
needs to meet in
interact, but
person?
not be. I don't know.
Oh, I'm gonna be
Anyway,
honest.
we'll get expand on that.
During the pandemic, I became a very big PC gamer and a Discord fan. So, like, I mostly socialize through Discord and online video games, like with a lot of my friends, even if they live nearby. So, the future is online, my friend. The future is online. Next piece of news, we're staying in the Last of Us topic. If you can look at the stream, we got the first picture of Joel and Ellie as Pedro Pascal and Liara Mormont. I'll never forget, I'll never remember her name. I'll always know her as the girl from Game of Thrones. Which I want to point out, the two lead actors of Last of Us are two actors from Game of Thrones. Just wanted to point that out. Um, oh my god, okay, I'm not gonna open that door, but so what do you guys think about this picture that we got? It's not much, but
I think it's pretty
Yeah,
good,
they're
to be
like
honest.
crouching
I,
down, right? Like you don't see them very well. They're in the dark. They're crouching down.
very good
Um,
point. There were two
I
pictures released.
I think I think he looks really good as Joel. Like I did at first, I didn't think he would look that good, but in that picture, he looks pretty similar to how Joel looked like in the game.
Dude, Pedro Pascal could play anything and he would look perfect in it. He could even play Kratos.
Yeah,
whoa,
So
whoa, whoa! But then again, this remember this is just an adaptation. It's not meant to be a cosplay because it's an original
yeah.
thing adapting,
I'm
right?
not
So
saying like I'm not saying they were trying to match one to one, but I'm just surprised by how close he looks.
yeah,
honestly,
I think it's pretty good. There's potential.
sorry, what did you say, Felipe? The last word?
I think there's potential for this show or movie.
I think it's more than potential, man. You know how you said, we don't need a remake? This is why they need a remake. It's on HBO. HBO is literally the number one favorite premium series, like streaming and channel, especially in the
Yeah,
US. So like the number of people that are
yeah.
going to discover Last of Us through this show is huge. They're gonna make so much money with a remake. But I digress. I will just close this topic by saying, you said something interesting, Matt. You said it's very dark. There were two pictures released. One was with more light, as if they turned on and turned off a flashlight, which I really like this detail because
Yeah,
the game is a lot about turning on and off the flashlight and stealth. And this picture tells me there's gonna be stealth in the show. It's not gonna be
oh,
Hopefully,
you
wasted.
have to do
everything.
so with the clickers and just how all of the enemies work. most of the encounters, if they're not human encounters, they'll have to do the stealth, right? Because like you make a noise and then they'll come running after you. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I just
Pause
hope.
here. How do, how do you know about clickers, Matt, if you don't like horror? This is pretty much a
Of
horror
course, I
game.
played Last of Us. Last of Us is not horror. Last of Us is just a good game.
I played The Last of Us. It is not horror. I was never scared once. And
Yeah.
It's technically a horror, but I see your point. I know what your point. I know what you mean.
and I finished Last of Us 1 in hard mode too, and never scared me. I think it's more like an action game. Like it's more like action adventure. There's no jump
Yeah.
scare. Well, there's some jump scares, I guess. But anyways, talking about Last of Us Remake, which is the final piece of news. The last announcement in the Summer Game Fest was The Last of Us Part 1. Multiple things to say about this one. There's been a lot of chatter online. Well, first, we just talked about Last of Us Factions being a standalone game. Everyone thought it was going to be included with the remake. At least you get something new with the remake, right? No, not even. They're
Mm.
selling you both games separately for $70.
Oh my god.
I also think The Last of Us Part 1, I'm not a fan of the title just because when I first saw it, I was like, wait, are they going to remake Last of Us 1 in two parts? I didn't catch at the beginning that Part 2 would be Last of Us 2. That's
Well,
just my
Last of Us 2 is called Last of Us Part 2, right? So it makes sense that they're fixing the naming.
Now, you see, as someone who only played the first one and didn't play the second, I did not know that. I thought it was just called Last of Us 2. So, anyways,
No, it's called Last of Us Part 2. So
that
there
explains
you
it.
go.
But that is a bit of nitpicking on my part. I didn't see anyone else complain about it. It's literally just me. But I'm honestly for Last of Us Part 2. I'm like at this point, might as well wait for the PS5 version, like native, to come out to play it. I waited this long, right? But
Yeah.
talking, I one thing that very much sold me was the next two clips that I'm going to put. I put two short clips on the show today. So this is a comparison of the remake versus the PS4 remaster. And I'm gonna be honest, I was very impressed. Like the graphics improvement, a lot of people say, "Oh, I barely see the difference." Like on this one right here of Joel, you don't see much of a difference. But look at Tess, which was a big controversy online this week. So this is
Yeah, look, the new pictures of Tess was where I really saw the difference.
exactly.
Like Joel and Ellie looked good, but when they showed Tess, I was like, wow, that's a big difference. Damn.
Even Joel and Ellie, I feel like if they had shown a picture outside in the sun and not in a cave, maybe it would have been better. Because I went wow when I saw this test clip because the amount of details on her face on the right is crazy.
Yeah, and like you can
Yeah,
see on the old version how there's almost like no animation in her face. And in the new version, you can see like every wrinkle and like how her eyes move. And I'm like, that's impressive. Like, damn.
okay.
Yeah,
I only with that I can see that the graphic of the remake does look better, but it might as well like look at like a different character. Like the animation is just the evolution of the consoles. Like if we get to PS6, what are we going to improve? Every single flick here, like is gonna move a little bit more. Like there's not much to improve. We're just gonna like a little nitpick here and there. Just like I don't know. There's not much to improve. Like looking at Ellie and Joel, they look pretty much the same. It's just like it's basically going from like HD to 4K to 8K. There's not much clearance. But the one thing that they could
I mean,
improve, not should, but could improve, is a bit of the gameplay itself. Graphic, it still holds out. Like when you get to like our RE4 segment, then we'll talk about bar. But Last of Us is still pretty solid,
oh,
even
100%.
graphic wise. Yes, yeah. But I do see the difference with Test alone. The sharper colors and The hair, the scars, everything looks pretty good.
So the controversy online this week was because you said it might as well be a different character. A lot of people complained that they made her look older and uglier, and a lot of fanboys are like, "Give us back the old Tess, the sexy one." Well, they didn't say the sexy one, but that's what they meant, right? One is they're complaining that they made her older.
Sexy one.
Okay, so these people for me are dumb. I understand where they're coming from. They're just thirsty, but for me they're dumb because if they showed this difference in the advertising, me it's the first time I was sold by the remake. Just because I was really anti this remake. I was like, it's so dumb. Last of Us remake remaster was perfectly fine. But this clip of Tess like really makes me want to buy Last of Us 2 because I know they use the same technology. So I might just get Last of Us 2 and not wait for the native version, to be honest.
I think there was already a patch for Last of Us 2 that gives you 60 FPS. So, like,
Nice.
if that's what you're worried about, I think it's already patched into the PS4 version.
Honestly, I don't.
Interesting.
I was just like, I don't know what I was waiting for. I guess I was just waiting for a little push, and the test is the little push, because I remember when Last of Us 2 came out, everyone was like, the animation on the faces is like we've never seen this before, and I never understood until now.
Yeah.
And I just,
Um,
yeah, just
I'm
props
not
to
gonna get
Sony.
too far into it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, props to Sony. I don't want to derail this too much, but I'm just gonna say the animation and like graphics and all of that of Part Two are great and awesome. I kind of struggled finishing that game. Like once you get past the halfway point, it just drags on just a
Mm.
little bit, and I'm just like, okay, like can we finish? But like overall, great game. I prefer the first one. I'm not like everyone online that was like, it's too woke and like, I don't like the story and oh, it's like SJW. And I'm like, oh, shut up. It's just a good story and it's fun. The gameplay was refined from the first game. Like, it's just a good game overall. If it's not your cup of tea in terms of the story, oh well, too bad. Stop playing it, go
Exactly.
to something else. You don't have to complain about all the stuff you didn't like about it, but I was like, for what it was good.
100% agreed. And did you know Troy Baker and the girl who did the voice for, I think, Ellie are actors in the TV show? They gave them roles. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
Really, that's nice.
Troy Baker. I've been a big fan of his ever since Persona 4 Golden because he does the blonde guy. I forgot his name. And
Not Ryuji. That's
but that's P5.
P5.
But mostly,
Yeah.
when I found out Troy Baker was the voice of Yuri Lowell from Tales of Vesperia, one of my favorite JRPG of all time, I was like, this guy's Yuri Lowell, which is
It's
confusing.
freaking Yuri. Like,
Which is confusing also because Yuri Lowell is literally the name of the voice actor of Yuri Lowenthal who voiced Luke from Tales of the Abyss. So you have two big voice actor
yeah.
reference in one character. But anyway,
Wow.
I'm sure pretty boy Troy Baker is very happy he's gonna be on an HBO show. It's crazy that he's a
And
voice actor.
Sorry also the Joker. He also voiced the Joker, which is how one of the first main roles I found him in. He voiced the Joker in
No
Arkham
way.
Origins. So a younger version of Joker.
How
He
can he
did.
how can he be that good looking and be an amazing voice actor that you don't even see his face? Well, he's got it all. Okay, except his NFT strategies, which almost got him cancelled.
Oh my
So
God.
we are done with the Summer Game Fest, and we're jumping on to the next topic. Capcom Showcase, Felipe special episode, special moment.
Yeah. Felipe,
This is
take
your
it away,
time to
Felipe.
shine, Felipe. So, the Capcom Showcase
Uh,
was on June 13th, and the first thing I wanted us to talk about, or you, Felipe, to talk about, was the official first look at Resident Evil 4 Remake gameplay. So Felipe, you have the floor.
Before, like, ever since Capcom got that leak, like maybe 2, 3 years ago, that RE4 remake was in the makes, I felt a bit iffy. Like, we don't need it. It's pretty recent. But then looking back, it came out in 2005, and by the time it comes out, it's going to be like 18 years. 18 years, and that's a long time. So like, and that's PS2, so that's 3 generations ago. So like, okay, we are due for a remake. But it still feels like we shouldn't have one because the gameplay is still solid. It's a bit cheesy, but Resident Evil was serious as it was always cheesy. So trying to be a bit more serious is like weird. The only thing that they could remake is just overhaul the controls, like make them walk and aim at the same time, just which is what they started like on RE6. Like it feels always felt weird that you have to walk, stop, aim, shoot, walk again. You know, it's weird. When Dino Crisis way back in the PS1 had the controls of walking and aiming, so why was that a thing? And they argue just to add more tension to the game. It's weird. But look at the new graphics to keep consistent with the RE2 models and the gameplay and the tone. I feel like they're doing the good job. The new Ashley is pretty. So I changed my opinion. I came around like, oh, I accept this. Yeah.
I hate the censorship though. It really made me mad that in the VR they censored some of the dialogues between Chris and Ashley because he was like flirting with her, and they removed that. I hate censorship. Like he literally
Yeah,
asked
like
her
form
out on
of
a date at the
expression.
end of the game, right?
Not Chris Liam, by the way. You confused the name there, but yes.
This is why you're the expert, Felipe.
No, I just played a lot
Leon,
of that game.
and you know,
But like, it's
I
not
played the game too. I knew it was a Leon. What a mistake I made. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
like at the end, she just asked Liam for overtime. You know, like overtime. She's like, just like walk off because he doesn't care about her. He cares about Ada. That one-sided love for like 4, 6, 6 years ago. It's set in 2004, so he still cares about Ada, someone he barely exchanged with. Like, Ada, wait, 6 years and he's still obsessed with her. Yeah,
Okay, so me, I'll just say I'm happy they're doing this remake. One, because RE4 was the first RE I played and I loved it, and I did hear that it was very hard to play it today because it had tank controls. So
yes.
I think it's time. I think this is time for a remake, especially after RE2 remake. Like if you
Yeah.
if you're gonna do RE2
I
remake,
just
you gotta do RE4.
I just hope they don't take the RE3 remake route where they add some stuff but then remove the areas. That's not a remake to me. This is just like a new game. Like just giving a new coat of paint. Like a remake, in my opinion, should be like the RE1 classic for the GameCube that they remastered HD for the PS3 and then 4. Now that's a remake. You just revamp the graphics and add the new areas. You don't remove areas to me. You're just taking away and you're selling at the same price. Like no, don't do the RE3 remake.
Um, so another news in the Capcom showcase, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village is getting not only a new DLC called the I forgot the name of the DLC, but and this
Shadows
is
of Rose.
sorry what? Shut.
Shadow of Rose is the DLC name.
All right. Honestly, I mean, graphics it looks great, but me what got me excited is adding a third person mode. So what do you think about the DLC and the third person mode, Felipe?
I think that's pretty cool. That's something that's an actual good DLC. Like it's not something that they added. Like they plan. Oh, let's sell this. Let's add this. Just like other characters, like they just in fighting games. Like let's make DLC from day one. No, just like good DLC from The Last of Us or like The Left Behind. They just made it after the game launched. So this is good DLC. People ask for it and they're getting it. So this is like good feedback, good rapport with companies and fans. Any comments, Matt?
Yeah, either an RE4 remake or RE8 DLC or the
No,
third person mode. Okay. You're not a Resident Evil fan?
What I
no, no, no.
Not even the
I
not
don't have much.
not
One thing
even
that I did love
Oh, I
most about.
am. Like,
sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
I am a fan. It's just I haven't played much of them. Again, that's a series where I've watched other people play through them on YouTube and stuff. Because I don't care that much to actually buy it and play it, so I'll just watch it instead. Like the story is interesting to me for how goofy and like cheesy it is, so that's why I watch. But and I'm like, oh, okay, so what virus is it this time? It's the T virus or the G virus or the P virus or whatever. Um, so like it sounds cool, like just like TMNT. It sounds cool for the fans of the game, but personally, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, good for
You
you
know, what's
guys.
funny. Before I make a point of like some what they've been doing like in this Capcom showcase in RE6, they had the C virus. It almost feels as if they predicted the pandemic, but it's not standing for China virus. No, it's C for chrysalis. But it's hilarious that they just call it C virus. Like T virus is tyrant, G virus is Genesis. I think I forgot. Like it's been a while, but like they had the C virus in RE6, and they actually went to a fictional city in China. It was like it's not C virus, it's chrysalis because of whatever virus did there, and that's like set in 2009, I think. But anyway,
Crazy.
what I do love about what they're doing in this that it's getting a VR, right? Even RE7 has a VR, RE4 is gonna get a VR, and that's the next step we briefly talked about in previous episodes. That's the next thing that the game industry should evolve into, not improve the hair flake or the colors or the imperfection split and like skin detail. No, we need to focus on VR because like
Yeah.
we don't have much more to be improving every single generation. Like I'm gonna see a bit more. Your pores are opening. No, we don't need that much detail. We just need good VR. Improve more and more on VR controls.
But we need VR that's not a horror game because the PSVR 1, the best game it had was RE7. Like RE7 was made for VR. That's by far like the if you wanted to showcase what a good VR game was, you showed RE7, right? But I could never play that in VR. But I'm only really scared by the first person because RE8 third person, I'm gonna play it then. Because like the only thing that was stopping me before was the first person. Like, and also that's what I was gonna ask you, Matt. Have you tried RE2 remake?
No,
Dude, it's
the last
so good.
Resident Evil game I've played personally was 6.
I
All the other ones have just been watching playthroughs and stuff.
I played four,
So you,
5, and the R2 remake, and R2 remake blew my mind. It's an incredible game. Sorry, Felipe.
so you, Matt played only the Michael Bay, but argued the least horror of them all, the Michael Bay game.
Exactly. You know, the one that's the least like Resident Evil is the one I actually liked and played.
Man, I am disappointed that there's no Capcom games on the PlayStation Plus extra tier. Like, I don't know, maybe are they waiting to do their own streaming? Because you can't get the Resident Evil games for free anywhere. Like, on any streaming, either Game Pass or PS Plus. But I digress. So I will right now jump to the next news item, which is also Resident Evil related. Um, for all the thirsty fanboys out there, Lady Dimitrescu is coming to RE Village Mercenary mode. So you're gonna be able to play with her in VR, be able to do whatever you want by killing zombies. Dude, I
Yeah.
do you think that the next Resident Evil game is gonna have another um, woman with a very interesting plot because of how RE8 blew up in popularity thanks to her? Like, it's insane. Like, Lady Dimitrescu, I'm sure, like, doubled the sales of RE8.
Probably. I really don't doubt that. I just hope it has a good story, not just I hope it had some substance and not just an empty look.
Some subsistence, like MGS subsistence. But okay, no, this is
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Oh,
I
was
was
like,
gonna
ah,
say this
my
is
man.
horrible. One question, Felipe. What is the mercenary mode?
Mercenary mode is basically a fun survival type area where you just go to areas of the game and then you just get kill zombies and or whatever creatures and get the high score.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. So you have a countdown and you just have to kill enemies and get, which is a very different from the original Mercenaries mode on RE3. The original, the Mercenaries mode is basically just walk around the map and find survivors, collect points, and then exchange the points for like infinite weapons to use in the main game. And I personally preferred that mode way back, but they just turned to like a survivor, get the highest score type of thing.
That sounds like a very boring multiplayer mode. Whoever's gonna kill the most zombies, I don't know. If I wanted to do that, I'd just go play Black Ops Zombie, which is that, but actually
Yeah,
automate.
it's not multiplayer, just co-op. It can be co-op now as of RE5, I think. RE4 was not co-op.
Well, I guess some people are gonna go play this mode just to play with their favorite vampire lady. Um, Next news, again Resident Evil related. Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and Resident Evil 7 are all receiving a free next gen upgrade. I'm not gonna lie, this because I played half of RE2 Remake on PC, and then it was on my old PC, and I lost my save. And I was always like, I'm not gonna redo it. But with a free next gen upgrade, I'm very tempted to go and finish it this time. What do you think, Matt?
Definitely. I like that.
Um,
The free
well, since
free
I don't have the
upgrade.
games, the whole free upgrade doesn't really,
Yeah, but dude,
it doesn't really affect me since I don't have games, right? So I'm like, that's cool. And I'm like, I don't really have much to say for this section. I'm like,
RE2
that's
Remake
cool.
though is so old. I'm sure you can find it for like $5 somewhere. But
Yeah.
it's okay. One day they'll give it for free. You'll try it, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, this game is so good." How about you, Felipe? Next gen upgrade.
I like the idea of like I like the idea of exposing more people to this great franchise because it's one of the best franchises. Like it's basically what solidified horror genre. It's not the first one, but it's like and them wanting to go back to horror makes me happy. But just personally, like I changed my opinion about RE4 getting a remake. But
Nice.
and before that, I was thinking what they should do instead is basically adapt like other existing material into games. Like they have three canon movies like CG, like the Damnation, Degeneration, Damnation, and Vendetta. They should just make those into games, short games, like three together, different chapters. Like they could even adapt the manga into games, like the Valhalla, this Marhala Desire and Heavenly Island. There's like canon materials post RE5 between 5 and 6. Just adapt those into like playable stuff. Give us more content. Like not many people knew about those manga and access them. So
Question.
getting us more content. Yes.
Um, do you think that RE7 and RE8 are a success not only critically but also financially for them? Do you think that they've been doing a good job with RE7 and RE8?
Financially, yes. I don't remember much about like story wise how it lay. It's like almost like a standalone. At the end of 7, in like a DLC quiz show up out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, that's how they're linking back. It feels weird because everything is somehow related to the T virus or Wesker. But even though up until RE5 was the quote unquote Wesker saga, and I don't know, like I just hope they visit continents we haven't been to yet, or cities or different countries. Like we haven't been to Australia yet. We've been to Asia and China in 6. We've been to Africa in 5. We've been to like Spain and Europe in 4. 1, 2, 3 is fictional city of Raccoon City in somewhere in the States. Like let's go somewhere I haven't been to. Code Veronica, we've been to Antarctica. Okay, cool. Like I just want to see more areas.
Where does RE8 happen?
I don't remember. Like I I have not played that much, and I think it's in Europe from what I remember. Like as soon like maybe like 5 years after seven, they're just hiding, so it's somewhere in like Eastern fictional Europe or something.
Yeah, it looks like some type of like where
That
Dracula lives, like Transylvania, Transylvania or something.
Yeah,
it's like a made up country, right? Like I actually know the story of Resident Evil pretty well because I'm just like a lore nerd,
Hmm.
but like I don't play the games. It's just like I know the lore and stuff, right? So like I think if I remember correctly, it's like Felipe said, like 5 years after seven, and they got transported to this other country to hide their identities because of what happened in seven. But then if you play the game, you find out what happened, and like yeah, things aren't happy for them.
Have you ever played RE4, Matt?
No, no.
So
Again, I've seen playthroughs and all that stuff, but I haven't played it.
you could experience the remake for as the game for the first time. Yeah, that's
it's
But yeah,
amazing.
like
I'm
I know
jealous.
what happens in the story. Yeah.
honestly, I don't even remember the story. Me, I just remember how fun the gameplay was, how fun the game was. This is me. I don't know the story of any Resident Evil. I just find 2 and 4 extremely fun to play. That's it.
One of the fun games they had ever released is like the Revelation series. That it's like set between like certain games, but it's like I think Revelations 1 is like in a fictional like Italian city or like a floating city. Revelations 2 is like near Russia or something. So they are going different places. And we see more of like Jill on Revelations 1. But there's still like some characters that like survived at the end of Revelations 1. There's like
What
the
console is
year
Revelations?
after.
Sorry to cut you off. What console is Revelations?
Revelations was like a Wii U, I think,
Mm.
and also PS3, I think. And they have a Revelations like HD collection if I remember correctly. So it's one of those like heavily underrated games. That was like more horror than when like 5 and 6 came out.
All right. Well, I think we've talked a lot about Resident Evil. I just asked you what you thought about 7 and 8, because from what I heard, I've been
Yeah,
hearing, they're critically acclaimed. People love them. So I'm like, whatever Capcom has been doing, they've been doing a good job, in my opinion, from an outside view.
yeah.
So that's why I'm like, just let them do their thing, and until they mess up again, like 6, I think we should trust them. But the question is, should we trust them with the Street Fighter 6
I
roster? Because the Street Fighter 6 roster has leaked, and we have a Diamond player, Street Fighter 6 player in the house, our resident Otaku informer, Diamond player. What is your opinion about SF6?
I people are saying online that as a joke that maybe Ono, the Street Fighter 4 producer, he leaked it because he got taken off the project in the latest season of Street Fighter 5. So out of spite, maybe he did this. But I wonder, like this, like all the redesigns and everything from the leak, it's pretty cool. Like everybody loves it. It's like almost unanimously agree that it's beautiful. Like all the designs are sick. So I wonder if this is like some kind of test and they would like slightly tweak it later. So it feels deliberate and very complete. After the leak, it's pretty much confirmed that Gaio's new look is pretty much the same, and it's still accepted worldwide. That I don't know. It feels those kind of leak is not even a leak because if it was a true leak, it would have come out before. But as soon as the announcement hit, the leak went out public. So I don't know. The timing is really odd.
Definitely. I mean, Capcom, they've been everything. They haven't been able to keep any secret for years. Yeah, well, looking at the roster, me as someone who hasn't played Street Fighter since Super Street Fighter 4, I'm just happy Rashid is in the roster.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I really have nothing else to say. Except that the hype
Yes.
around it is very positive. Whatever Capcom is doing marketing wise, it's working. Because I've been hearing a lot of people saying they want to jump back into Street Fighter for the first time since 4. I think they have an opportunity to get back some old fans and some new fans. Anything else you want to say about Street Fighter 6 before we move on to the next conference, which is Xbox?
I think the Street Fighter, like the producers, like since this is something that I like, it's like the guys that took over after Ono stepped down on the last season of Street Fighter 5, they're younger guys comparison. So they really brought fun characters in the last season of Street Fighter 5, and they're in charge of Street
Mm-hmm.
Fighter 6. And all the news and the new things they're trying for Street Fighter 6, it feels refreshing because they're trying new things like battle damage, showing like scars. Like after again, they're bringing like extra fluff between the in the versus screen. We're gonna be able to just like making challenge pouting faces or challenge or smirks. They're adding like this extra fluff that Street Fighter hasn't seen since maybe Street Fighter 3 or Alpha, like in the special interest. So they're really going crazy. I just hope it's expensive enough for like the single player content. So they're really, really learning from their past mistake, which is like they were focused only on the esports scene on Street Fighter 5, and it was still partially successful. But they like, if there's no content for like casuals, it's the they because the esports scene they need pros, but to become pros you need to become casual first. So if they don't cater to casuals at all, then they're shooting themselves in the foot, right? So they're really adding content. And I think the two new guys, I forgot the name, Matsumoto and the other one. They're younger guys. They know what they're doing.
Who are these two
So
new
I
guys?
have complete. I have Matsumoto. They're the one that they took charge of the last season of Street Fighter Five. This. So they're like new guys. There's so many names like Shuhei
When
Matsumoto,
you
I
say
think, and
charge, what do they
Kobayashi.
do? What's their position?
Like the executive producer and lead designer, something like that.
Oh, so they got some fresh new blood in there. That's always a good thing,
Yeah.
especially in Japan, which
So
is
there's
good.
always promising. Yeah, exactly. So I have like complete faith in the Street Fighter 6 now, especially the new system that they combining so many elements of like Street Fighter 3, 4, and 5 together. It looks beautiful. Like this, the game mechanic, the gimmick, it looks smart. I would never have guessed, and that's why I am not a game designer. I just have idea lore wise. Anyway,
Also, sorry, go ahead.
I trust in Street Fighter 6. I do. After seeing these gameplays, we
There,
can go to the
they
Xbox
should
now.
have hired you to go on the Jeff Keighley stage and say what you just said because you literally just sold me on the game. Like everything you just said is very, very like positive in the sense that they're trying new stuff and they're trying to like combine everything you just said basically really resonated with me, so I'll try it. Do you think they leaked the Kami Ultra on purpose? It had to be on purpose, right? Out of all the
Yes.
ultras, it's Kami's Ultra that they fucking leak. Oh, freaking leak! Sorry.
There's one thing that I want to say and bring back because it just came to my recommended feed on YouTube at some point. There was a glitch on the first year of Street Fighter 5 where Chun Li had jiggle physics, and like on the versus screen she had like very bouncy plot.
Um, Sorry, I'm just
Should keep.
testing the sound again. I just checked the sound again. It's just I think that spike that you were talking about, like we can hear me fine, but when I lowered my mic voice, it like a lot low. The volume is a lot lower than yours. So anyway, we'll figure
Interesting.
this out later. But I put it back to 3/4. Anyways,
That's fine.
today is your show anyway. I'm just asking questions.
No, no, but one thing that I think they should
Hmm.
keep on Street Fighter or bring back, just like they should double down on the service, but like not showing stuff, but like some extra stuff that could be able to toggle on and off, like the Street Fighter 5 glitch with like Chun Li jiggle physics. They should just keep that because sex sells. You know, like there's a whole franchise about jiggle physics called Dead or Alive.
Yeah, but dude,
So
come
Street
on.
Fighter is something. that is a feature that should stay there. They already have like man and woman with like revealing clothes. Having jiggle physics is nothing. So that's something that they should not have fixed it in Street Fighter.
You
But
are
anyway,
talking
that's the last thing that.
you're talking about the company that just censored like Leon asking out on a date Ashley, right? Like if they censored RE4, there's no way they'll have like Chun-Li jiggling. So anyways,
But like it depends on what they're censoring because of like the perspective from the Japan and the West, right? Like they're more okay with violence for the most part, and like showing some cleavage in Japan is okay, but
of
in the
course.
West is like a big no-no, right? So and the opposite is also true, which is like if it's too violent in Japan, they'll censor if it's like and not in the West. Like from RE4 to 5, the Chainsaw Man could just decapitate you right away in 4, and you can see the head was rolling. And then on 5, when the chainsaw just cuts, it just cuts through you, but your head stays intact, and that makes no sense. Biologically speaking, physically, you getting a chainsaw through you and your head doesn't roll off. Well, like it's too violent, but like it's rated M for a reason. But you know, that's a
Yeah.
different type of discussion. People complaining about something that why it's rated M, so just keep the violence. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's why maybe they censored like the jiggle physics or whatever. Like it's weird.
I hate censorship, but this is a topic for another day. So basically,
Yes.
we're done with Capcom. We're moving to the next conference. Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase finally arrived, and we finally have gotten a close look at what Xbox has in store for the next year. For better or worse.
Not much.
First,
Spoilers, not much.
yeah, for real. First things first, for racing fans, I was very impressed that they're already releasing the new Forza Motorsport, because Forza has a franchise with two main series. It has Horizon, which is you can like go around. It's almost like Burnout Paradise, where you can like travel around on an island and do various challenges. And they have Forza Motorsport, which is more like Gran Turismo. So Forza Motorsport is already coming out next spring, and Xbox stays the leaders at racing games on consoles. Anything you want to say about Forza?
Not new anything new to add. I just find it's like different variation. I didn't even know there's like two like different franchises, so I got informed. But like the Gran Turismo or like Horizons, you said? Like I didn't know that.
Yeah, Forza Horizon, which is the one that just came out, and Forza Motorsport. I did not know this, but until like a couple of years ago, a friend of mine is obsessed with cars, obsessed with anything related to cars. So when he buys a console, it's for basically like two or three games, like GTA and racing games, right? And him, Forza is a console buyer decision. So like for people who like cars, Forza will make you buy the console. So when you don't care about racing games, you don't care. You just skim over it. But Forza is a very powerful It's the most powerful franchise that Xbox has because Halo is obviously not that anymore. Um, Next is there was a big announcement. Hideo Kojima and Xbox team up. So there were a lot of rumors about Kojima doing negotiating with Xbox for for an exclusive partnership or something, but turns out he said he's working on three different games and this is one of the three, and that I heard something very interesting by the way that Death Stranding 2 is not Death Stranding 2. I don't know if you're aware of the. Well, we're talking about Kojima, and this is Kojima news. There is a leaker who's very reliable. He leaked the next Kojima game called Overdose. He even leaked that Margaret Qualley, which is the actress from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she's in Death Stranding, is the main character of this game. She's in Death Stranding, and she's in this game called Overdose. That's not Death Stranding. Meaning that Daryl, Norman Reedus, was probably mistaken. He was probably wrong when he said, "Oh, we're working on the second Death Stranding." He probably meant Overdose, but for him, he doesn't know video games, right? So for him, it was in his head, "Oh, it's the same guy with the same actress. It's probably the sequel of the same game, right?" So now we know that he's making a game called Overdose that would. Sacred Symbols Colin had a very good theory that it is going to be a PlayStation exclusive because the guy who leaks it only leaks PlayStation news.
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyways, Felipe, what do you think about Hideo Kojima finally making a game
The
for Xbox?
the first thing I have to say is I've seen so many people complaining about him like selling out or just doing like why? First of all, it's his job, let him be. Second of all, it's not your business what he does, so just be happy for other people, like just it doesn't change your life. Why would you hate on him that he's not making games for your PlayStation or whatever? Like let him be. It's his job. So that's just out of like wait, like don't hate on something that you can't control. It's like it changes nothing. So, and I just joke that he's making Life Stranding for the Xbox. As a joke, just like a dumb name pun. But like people hating that he's not making for like PlayStation. So what? Second of all, like I'm glad that he still has a good reputation. Like he made a name for himself after leaving Konami. So I'm happy he had enough success with Death Stranding to be able to like have some what's the good word here credibility, I guess the word, like was successful enough, like okay, like hire me type thing, so like I can make a different game. So look at this, because there's a difference for being like critically acclaimed and actually being good and selling. I don't even know how many units Death Stranding sold, but like if a reviewer is different from the review saying like, oh, the game's very good and then it's so poorly. Like, were you bought or you think the game is good but people don't like the reviewer or the presentation or marketing wasn't good? So like, I'm not gonna buy it. But it was good, so I'll believe you. But I just don't like it. I don't know.
I heard something crazy too that so you know how Metal Gear Solid 2 literally predicted so much of the future? Like Kojima is such a genius that like his games are so deep that it's they literally sometimes predict the future. Like he's that like intelligent. And Death Stranding, which he started making years before the
That's
pandemic,
true. That did.
it
Yeah.
happens in a
Death Stranding basically projected the pandemic and how people would interact with each other and stuff like that. Yeah. I heard that theory as well.
yeah, that he kind of like predicted not predicted the pandemic, but predicted how the
People would
well,
human interaction. You mean?
I signed up for the PlayStation Plus Extra just for Death Stranding Director's Cut because I'm too curious. I want to play this game. I wanna know if it's just a walking sim or if it's actually a very deep original game. So I'll let you know.
From what you said, like on the previous episode, talking about that, I didn't know that Death Stranding is supposed to like build on like your builds in the game in the world, sort of like a Minecraft version of whatever you build there for the bridge. Like that's why it looks different from at launch. How is that gonna look like on director's cut? Are they gonna keep data from like the original game on the PlayStation 4 on 5? Like how are they gonna do it? Especially if they ever release on Death Stranding 2, would just be like barren or they could build up on whatever data they collected from one Death Stranding 1 servers? I don't know. That's what I don't get. Like that's a lot of coding that is like sound stuff, you
That's
know?
why I downloaded it so I can find out because I don't understand it either. Matt, any thoughts on Kojima and Xbox partnering up? Oh my god, I can't speak.
There a game director is like well loved and just like critically acclaimed when there's a video that pops up of him in this room and he goes, I'm making a game. I'm not telling you what it is or anything, but I'm making a game with Xbox. Alright, bye. And that's it. And everyone's like, oh my god, he's making a game. And it's like, uh, guys, all he said was, I'm making a game with Xbox. It's like if it was any other developer, it'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. But because it's Kojima, everyone's like, this is gonna be the best game ever. It's like, guys, we don't know anything about the game. I just find it really funny that he can do something so simple and get so much of a response. But
You know what I just thought of? Kojima is basically the Miyazaki of gaming.
Yeah, 100%. He's by far the most critically acclaimed video game director. Unless no Miyamoto.
I was
Pretty
gonna
hard,
say Miyamoto
pretty hard to
and
beat him.
Kojima are pretty equal there.
Thing is that Miyamoto is like he hasn't invented any new franchises in forever, whereas Kojima, he's
Why is-
so Kojima is so beloved that he can leave like Sony fighting with them and then create his own studio and like I'm gonna make whatever I want. I don't care if anyone likes it or if it sells, and then still be sought after by like every single different like platform. Like I'm sure Phil Spencer like gave him a really good deal, and like Death Stranding was not a was not a financial success. It was a critical success by some. In America, it was not a critical success. So even though Death Stranding is not that huge, he can still do whatever the hell we want. Like he's like, oh, I'll make a game for PlayStation and a game for Xbox, and a third game is gonna be a surprise, and people will lose their mind. Anyway,
Third game maybe Nintendo. You know, I might get freaky and I'll just go like, "Hey, Nintendo, want to get freaky?" And there we go. Okay.
Matt, do you ever think about doing a Metal Gear Solid replay of all five? Because I do. Only reason I'm waiting is like I'm hoping they announce a remake or a remaster of some sorts. But I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 2 since the first time, and I feel like if I replay it today, I'll be like, it will blow my mind even more. And I never finished Metal Gear Solid 4, and I never played 5.
Oh, you never finished 4. Oh, okay.
And I have it on PS3. I bought it on PS3. I played it halfway through, and then I just stopped playing video games for the whole like I was not playing much video games during the PS3. But now I'm like, if I go back, I won't remember. So it's part of me is like, I should just dedicate months of my life and replay all 4. Anyway, this was the Kojima corner.
Yeah, this is a franchise I always wanted to like get into, but it just like so much lore heavy. So I'm like,
It's not.
no. I only played the first one. I'm like, no.
It's not lore heavy.
It's really not.
Not like not that much, but there is a lot to follow, and it's also out of order because game companies can't follow chronology very well.
But you play them in release order. Like, you don't start with Snake Eater and then go to the first one. You'll hate the mechanics. Like, you gotta start with the first one, which is literally popcorn blockbuster. The first time I played it, I was like, this is a movie. I'm playing a movie. Because the story is so Hollywood-like and so, like, I can't believe they never made a movie out of it. Anyways, we will
Michael Bay will make a movie.
One day, one day, all three of us, we start a new playthrough of all 4 together.
Yes. All right. The Kojima report over.
Yes. Next piece of news is Overwatch 2. Whoops. So the next piece of news is that Overwatch 2 during the Xbox conference was announced to officially come out in October, the PvP only mode, and free to play, which is the big news here. Because right now, Overwatch 1 is still not free to play.
Like news from yesterday? I think they announced it yesterday where they officially said that there's no more loot boxes. It's doing Battle Pass instead. Yes, way.
Wow.
They just confirmed it.
Well, that blows my mind. As someone who has put, like, not gonna lie, like, almost 800 hours in Overwatch, like, Overwatch is by far my number 1 multiplayer game. And I played the closed beta of Overwatch 2 and I loved it. And I'm like playing Overwatch 1 again just to like get my skins, my golden weapons, because everything transfers to Overwatch 2. Everything you get from Overwatch 1 transfers. But I think it's a big news that it's free to play. Like, I had to buy Overwatch 1 to two of my friends for them to play it because I was like, I'm sure you would love it, but they wouldn't want to pay it, right? They're like, I'm not gonna buy Overwatch 1, even if it's $25. So the fact that it's free to play, I think, will not save the franchise. It didn't need saving, but it's gonna become much bigger. Oh, and they also announced a new character, Junker Queen, which people who play the game know Junkrat, and the map Junkertown. And ever since 2017, since I started playing Overwatch 1, a friend of mine has been telling me, they have to release Junker Queen. We saw her in the cinematic. 5 years later, they finally announced her. And she looks freaking awesome, and she's going to be a new tank. Next piece of news. It is finally here. The Persona gods have been gentle to the Xbox peons. Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 3 Portable from the PSP are all three coming to Game Pass and Steam and PS4, which is huge.
And PlayStation P5R is getting a PlayStation 5 native version.
You know how I told you?
It's only the thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Has
I
Persona
love
always
Rashid's
been?
face right now. Just like, wait, what? You're blowing my mind. Wait, what?
I've been waiting. I never played Royale. I never bought it again. I gave my copy of 5 to Felipe, hoping I would buy Royale one day. And I was dreaming for a release of native PS5 of Royale. And this is literally my dream come true. So I'm buying it day one and I'm playing it on PS5.
And has it really always been PlayStation exclusive? Because coming to Xbox is a pretty big deal.
Dude,
Like, I don't know. Because
Persona 4 Golden was
never an Xbox
PS Vita locked for 10 years.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
need
know
a
that
PS
one, but like
The Vita just
in general.
PlayStation 4.
Sorry.
Yeah, but PlayStation as a whole has always been Persona like on 5, or am I wrong? Because I never really noticed.
You need to understand, Felipe, that Persona has always been a PlayStation franchise, and that Xbox fans have been begging Microsoft to get Persona on Xbox forever, basically since Persona 4. And they're also getting Persona 3 Portable, which I played, which allows you to play with a female character, which changes the dialogues in a lot of the game. But the problem with Persona 3 Portable is that it doesn't have the 3D where you can run around in the town. Only the PS2 version had that. So you have like it's bad, to be honest. It's much better to have the character being able to run around in the town.
There's two versions of P3. Yeah, there's two versions of P3. There's the FES version. I don't remember what it stands for, but FES version, and then the portable version. And like, there's some things in the FES version that are better than the portable version, and vice versa. So there is never one version that's like the definitive version. So some people prefer the portable more than the other version. So some people are mad that it's the portable version and not the FES version. I've never played either of them, so like
Really?
I won't notice a difference.
P3?
But like, yeah, I never played P3 because I didn't have a PSP, and I didn't play the other version that was on PS2. I got into the series with P4 Golden. That's why I bought the Vita. So
Well, P3
it'll be cool to
Portable
finally get that play.
is definitely the best version because yes, you can't have your 3D character run around in the town, but you have the female character, which I had gotten a PSP for my ex-girlfriend's birthday with Persona 3 Portable, and she played it as the girl, so she could romance the guys and everything. So I actually saw her playthrough, and it's like it's a different game, you know, like characters talk to you differently because you're a girl and stuff like that. So yeah. You blew my mind that P5 Royal is coming out on PS5 native though. That legit. You know how I just said I don't want to buy Last of Us 4 on PS4 in case they announce a PS5 native version right after. This is what I had been waiting for, PS5 Royal. Also, Felipe, Persona 5 Royale, everybody who played it said that it is a masterpiece and that it is so much better than the regular Persona 5 that like it got 10 out of 10s in every critic. Even though they resold you the same game 2 years later with a character that should have been included in their initial release. Like there's an extra playable character. They're scum. They're
I've gotten
scumbags.
40 hours. Yeah, I've gotten 40 hours into P5R, and I can agree that it is much better than original P5. Like, if you're gonna play Persona 5, play Royale. Do not go back and play the original version, because they just add so much good stuff and quality of life improvements and new characters, new mechanics. That's just like, just same with Persona 4. Don't go back and play original Persona 4. Just play Persona 4 Golden. That's why they're releasing Golden instead of the original, because it's just so much better than the original P4. So I agree. Play P5R. Don't play original P5.
If you have a Steam Deck, you can play P5 Royale portable. I'll just say that.
No!
That would be so amazing. But anyways, and just to finish on the Persona topic, the Persona report, they started this with Persona 3, then they did Persona 3 FES, which was slightly different, and then Persona 3 Portable, which added the girl, and then they released Persona 4 on PS2, and then on PS Vita they released the improved version Persona 4 Golden on Vita. So Atlas has always been scumbags like this, where they will release you the original game, missing features, to resell it to you two years later. And personally, after putting like almost 100 hours in Persona 5, I wasn't gonna freaking buy Persona 5 Royale and put another 100 hours to get an extra 20 hours of content. You know what I mean? It's madness that they do this. Anyways.
I mean, that type of practice has been around since Street Fighter 2. World Warrior, Champion Edition, Hyper Fighting, Turbo, Super Turbo, Super 2 Turbo. So it's always been there, just extra characters. So it's the same thing. But people hate more on Capcom for that, because for a few characters.
You know, like
anyway, yes.
I'm sorry, but it reminds me of I'm still mad at Tales of Vesperia, which is my favorite Tales. I played an incomplete version on Xbox 360 because Xbox got the rights for 1 or 2 years. No, they got the rights in North America forever, but they got the rights for 1 year in Japan. A year later, freaking Bandai Namco were like, "You dumb Americans!" They re-released Tales of Vesperia on PS3 with the second main character playable that they removed from the original game for 360. So there are two main characters on the cover of the game, and they took one out for the 360 version and they put him back in for the PS3 version. And there was even another playable character called Patty, which was a little pirate girl that there are traces of her on the 360 version. Like, you could go to her room, but she's not there because they literally removed her to say a big FU to Xbox and Microsoft and the Americans. For real. Like, they literally scammed Xbox.
That's why I was so happy when they announced the definitive version of Vesperia, and it was coming on Switch and all these places, because I was like, we can finally play the real version of Vesperia. So that was fun.
The only problem with what you just said, Matt, is that for me it was too late. After definitive edition came out, I was like, I don't have 80 hours, 70 hours to put in the Tales of games again, you know? So I never played one of my favorite JRPGs, I never played the full version. Just because they're scum. Because Bandai Namco scammed Xbox. And now Atlas did the same thing to me with... Sorry.
80 hours. I guess I'm the only one that has 80 hours to spare then. Because when I saw that announcement, I'm like, I have 80 hours to give you. I can finally play this.
Yeah, props.
Wow.
This is brave Vesperia. But anyway, the only reason I brought it up is to say that Persona 5 Royale almost pulled the same stuff on me, because I wasn't planning on playing Royale, the real full version, but now that there is a native version, 100% I will. Alright, sorry, so next piece of reporting. first Starfield footage shows off massive scale of the game with over 1,000 planets and ability to build your own spaceship. So we finally got Starfield gameplay, which I think saved the Xbox conference. Because as much as it looks like, for me it looks like Mass Effect, but as much as it looks like Mass Effect, the things that I've read that have leaked about this game, it's the most ambitious game of all time. And I am extremely excited for it.
Wasn't that No Man's Sky?
Now you see, that's a comparison that I heard this expert Xbox YouTuber Matt from Matty Plays from Last Night Media. He said people who compare it to No Man's Sky are people who are too lazy to actually research what Starfield is. Because the only similarity it has with No Man's Sky is that they're both space games where you can go to a lot of planets. But No Man's Sky is like automatically generated planets, whereas Bethesda have like a crazy AI technology that I didn't know existed until like literally today. Where apparently in Skyrim, this AI was creating quests for you. In Skyrim. So
What?
So a lot of the quests in Skyrim, no one designed them. It's an AI. And this
That's
AI
crazy.
is now at the peak and is the one that's going to create this 1,000 planets. So it's not going to be like randomly generated planets with the No Man's Sky. No, this is like advanced Bethesda technology that I've been developing for 10 years. You guys have the floor.
I'll go first just because
Go
I don't have
ahead,
much to say.
Dimitri.
Just like I don't know anything about this game, but just knowing about this technology, that's pretty good to know. So like I'm happy for the people that actually care. I just don't.
How about you, Matt? I mean, to
All
be
right.
honest, you're not the target audience, Felipe, just because you've never played a Bethesda game, ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have mixed feelings about Starfield. On one hand, I'm really excited, like you, Rashid, and I think if it works out well, it could be an amazing game. On the other hand, I almost feel like it could possibly be like a Breath of the Wild, where, for me at least, where it's like they say there's gonna be 1,000 planets, and you can land anywhere on the planet and explore as much as you want. And I'm like, okay, that just sounds like a lot of empty space with nothing to do. Just like Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild is you have this massive area to explore, but there's nothing to do in that area. It's like, okay, I can walk around and look at the scenery, but like that's all I can do. So I'm like, okay, how are they gonna make each planet interesting to go to? Like, I know your story quests are not gonna involve all 1,000 planets. They're probably gonna involve like maybe 10 or 12 at most, right? So how are you gonna make me interested to explore all of these other planets? Are there gonna be like thousands and thousands of side quests? Well, it's side quests, so it's not gonna be like super fun quests. Um, how many AI, how many NPCs are going to be on the planets? Like, I need to know more about what their plan is, because otherwise it just sounds like they've made a giant empty place for you to explore with not much to do.
All of your concerns are very fair. Everybody has these concerns because what they're saying sounds too crazy to be true. But until I watched that video from Mr. Matty Plays today, I did not know that when you play Skyrim, there's the whole Thieves Guild. There's a big chain quest with the Thieves Guild. That's a very interesting quest chain, and that entire that entire quest line is all AI generated. And this is in 2011, a game that came out in 2011. So my hope, why I'm excited, is that we think it's going to be empty like No Man's Sky, etc. Also, No Man's Sky doesn't have over 1,000 planets. It has millions of planets. So
Yeah.
the 1,000 planets, and Todd Howard said, yes, of course there's going to be mining planets, some planets that are going to be all a desert, all ice. But I truly believe that with their expertise in technology, that it's not going to be empty planets and that it will feel like that. What I'm scared of is the bugs. It's what they're trying to make is so ambitious. I almost feel like they should delay it again, personally.
Well, it's not a Bethesda game without thousands of bugs, right? Like, that's part of the fun of playing Bethesda games. Just running into all the giant bugs and, like, oh, there's the guy with half of his body floating in the air. That's fun. Let's talk to that guy.
I think you mispronounced Ubisoft.
Okay, so there was this leak, on Reddit, which everybody thought it was a fake leak until the gameplay trailer, which confirmed so much things on this list. So the game starts and you choose your location, aka you do not start at the same planet every time. It depends on various things decisions that you make. The game also has crazy special space battles. You can design your own ship, like it's like Star Wars in space, basically, the battles. And it says that anti-gravity exists, and it's like each planet have their own gravity. Intelligent life exists, but not on all planets. Each planet is bigger than Skyrim's map. That can't be true.
That can't be true.
Like,
Come on.
I would think they should have these plans as DLC, like pay a DLC and get galaxies here and there. Like having too much from the start is a bit too ambitious.
To be honest, like me, I'm just deciding to trust them because I see the vision that they're trying to make. I played Mass Effect 1 for the first time last year, and what I loved the most about it was how huge the universe felt. There's so many planets in Mass Effect 1, and it's a 2007 game. I like being able to take my ship, go to all these planets, how every planet had their own like species with their own politics and everything. I want that, but as a masterpiece from Bethesda. This is what I'm hoping. And now we have seen the first look at the gameplay. We know a lot more, and we will hear more about it in the future. So that was Starfield and the end of the Xbox conference report. Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary celebration aired yesterday, and we got some breaking news. We're going to end the podcast today with this. We could not do this episode without talking about these massive FF7 news. First, Ever Crisis. So, what I like is that they showed gameplay of Ever Crisis, which Matt will explain to us what it is exactly in 2 minutes. I like how they show you Crisis Core Remake, and then they show you Ever Crisis, and you can see the difference in graphics. And I don't know, I just feel like it makes Crisis Core Reunion look much better. So, Matt, what exactly is Ever Crisis?
So, Ever Crisis was first announced last year when they announced Intergrade. So, when they announced the PS5 version of Remake Part 1, they also said, hey, we're working on this mobile game called Ever Crisis. And it's just another, well, the way they put it is another way to remake the series. So, the mobile game will cover Final Fantasy VII, the original story, the prequel, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, the PS2 third-person shooter game with Vincent, Before Crisis, which was a Japan-only mobile game, and Advent Children.
What?
So they have plans. Yes, they have
That's crazy. What
plans
the hell?
to.
What?
That's
They have
crazy.
plans to adapt all of those storylines and remake all of those games and movie into this mobile game. So this mobile game will cover all of the stories for Final Fantasy VII.
Wait, it's gonna
And
be a
what's
mobile
really
game?
cool, yeah, and what's really cool is that the mobile game basically is like the original game, where it's a turn-based game, just updated graphics. It has like little chibi characters in the outer world, but then you go into a fight and it's full 3D models. It looks like PS4 quality for the fights. Like, I was really impressed. Like the trailer they showed in the celebration, and the little parts of the combat that you saw, it looked as good as Final Fantasy Remake, the fighting in that. Just turn-based instead of live action. I was like,
Yeah, you're right.
that's gonna be on a mobile? Wow, like, that's impressive. And then when you're moving around the world and like going to stores and stuff, it's like chibi art, and it kind of reminded me of the Final Fantasy 15 mobile version that they made, where it's more cute chibi art style. So, and last thing I'll say is, of course, because it's a mobile game, they have plans to do like monetization, but they've already come out and said that the only monetization will be for like special outfits or cosmetic stuff. So if you want Tifa to be wearing a funky
dress?
kimono, then you
Yeah.
can get it. It's just that's the cosmetic. That's the paid part. Just getting different cosmetics for
up.
your people.
Sign me up.
I have mixed feelings about this. First, I am amazed that they're doing all of those games in one. That's incredible. Wow. But two, the fact that it's all chibi characters, I kind of still prefer the original FF7 art style, but no, it still looked bad. No, this still looks better. One question though. If you're gonna have access to the Crisis Core remake, why would you play the Crisis Core chibi version?
Well, it's same thing as why did they make the chibi version of Final Fantasy 15 when you could have 15 on all the consoles and PC and stuff? It's just a different a different way to access the story. Like, some people only play on mobile, right? So
You're absolutely right.
that's just for them to get the story either way.
And the more people access the story, the more converted people we will have to our FF7 religion. You know, one small thing is I watched Advent Children before playing FF7 Remake, after playing FF7 Original, and I noticed the last two minions that Sephiroth summons in the final battle are the two guys from FF7 Advent Children. And you could only catch it if you recognize their names. Like, this is the kind of Easter egg that I love that they do.
There's little things from Advent Children that if you watch it before you play Remake, that you catch on. Like, Sephiroth in Remake is Advent Children Sephiroth. It's not original 7 Sephiroth. He already has the black wing out in the back of his back of his back.
Still discovering things about this game.
Yeah, the way he talks and like the things he mentions to Cloud, especially early on, like when you first see Sephiroth. I can't remember the exact line, but it's just like there was one line that I was like, wait, he wouldn't know that if he's original Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth. He would only know that if he was Advent Children Sephiroth.
Really?
And it's like, wait. So you're telling me this actually takes place after Advent Children because, like, oh, dude, I could do a whole episode on the theories that are going around about this.
I absolutely love it. I would love to hear it, to be honest, because you know a lot more than me in the subject. I'm a recent fan, and I'm loving all of this. Felipe,
mind trip. It's a whoa.
Felipe,
there's layers to this. Like, yeah, there's layers. Like, first layer, you're like, okay, cool, Sephiroth, this is a remake. but like the deeper you go into it, is like, this isn't a remake. This is a sequel. Everything that has come up to this point matters. And it's like, oh, very cool.
Me, the first thing that when I started realizing was when Aerith tells Tifa that she knows Marlene, even though she had never heard of her before. And she's like, oh, Marlene,
Yeah.
right? In the bar? So she knows Marlene and where to go save her, even though in this game, she's not supposed to know her existence. That's why I was like, how does she know Marlene? Yo, anyway, Felipe, we have to get you a Switch, man. We have to.
Well, look
They
at
have to
prices
get-
yesterday. I went to a store to check, and some places are still like 300. I'm like,
To
I
be
could
honest,
get it, but
a Steam Deck would be even better, but it's more expensive. But a Steam Deck, you can play pretty much everything that's good on the Switch except like the main Nintendo games. That is it worth being able to play like FF7 Remake
And the Steam
Intergrade
Deck.
on Steam Deck? It's crazy.
Yes, that! I'm like, oh.
Oh, we forgot to talk about that. They
Steam Deck isn't available
really,
in
they have
Japan
that?
yet. Steam Deck isn't available in Japan yet, so
yeah, it's hard to get.
even if we wanted to, we can't get it in Japan yet.
But yeah, that was the other announcement that they made. They said that FF7 Intergrade, that with including the DLC for PS5, is coming out on Steam and compatible with Steam Deck. Wow, it's crazy. People who have a Steam Deck can play portable Persona 5 Royale, Elden Ring, FF7 Intergrade. Just these three games alone puts everything else to shame. Anyways, we're gonna talk about this forever. We have to move on. The other announcement is the FF7 Crisis Core Reunion, which is a remake using the graphic motor engine of FF7 Remake of PS5, PS4, but for Crisis Core. So that's why they were able to make it that fast, because they already had the graphic engine. They just had to reskin it and move stuff around.
Look at this pretty boys. Wow, there's good graphics there.
I mean, hey, we have pretty girls and pretty boys. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the dark side, join Final Fantasy VII. We have pretty boys and pretty girls.
I love how in the trailer, I love this scene because I never saw it. I never played Crisis Core. Zack wakes up and he says, "Am I in heaven?" Because Aerith is staring at him. And you're like,
It's like that. It's like, oh, you're in that church.
I wonder if this is like a fourth wall breaking. Am I in heaven? We're finally getting remakes of this beloved game. Square Enix really wants money. So like, here folks, give us money.
I didn't catch that. You're right, Felipe. I mean, the
That's
fact
a
that
little
you
much.
put this sentence, we are in FF7
That's
heaven.
a little much. Come on, guys.
Yeah, am I in heaven? We're
I
getting
don't-
remakes of these all.
Do you guys remember
Yeah, they've got- yeah.
when they first showed the technical demo for FF7 Remake at the PS3 announcement of the console? And it wasn't an announcement of the
Yeah.
game, it was a tech demo of the intro. Imagine if someone had told us, in 20 years you're going to get FF7 Crisis Core remade, and the entire FF7 remade in 3 parts, which is the next announcement. We officially have a date. Oh, FF7 Crisis Core Reunion is coming out this winter.
It's winter.
This winter is packed. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that
Next
just won
year's
the
more
game of the
packed.
fall for me. Like, that's the game of the holidays for me. And we
Yeah,
have...
screw Pokemon. Give me Crisis Core.
Oh yeah, any day. So what you see on the screen, at the top, the logo for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and under it, not Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So first, we officially
Which
know...
already just adds it. Just that name adds so much to all the theories about how this is a sequel and not a real remake. Because, I will keep it brief, but yes, it's very cool.
No, I mean, I feel exactly the same way as you, Matt, because I fell in love with this title just because it means so much. Only if you understand it. Because keep in mind, people who never played FF7 original, who played the remake, don't understand any of this. They think they're playing the same game as the one that came out on PS1. Like,
You are wrong. You are not.
the game
May look like it, but you aren't.
like, this is what blew my mind. When I finished the game, I still wasn't sure if it was a sequel or a remake. Like, I had to like Google it because I'm such a newbie at the FF7 lore that I was like, this is so weird. Are they making a different game? It doesn't make sense. And then at the end of the game, when you get the flashbacks of the PS1 version.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I don't quite get it, but like, okay, I'll eventually play it.
Felipe, you have to join.
Felipe, you said you would play Persona 5 eventually, and that still hasn't happened, from what I've heard.
Yes.
Felipe's gonna play FF7
Yes.
Muso. When the warrior game of FF7
Oh, yeah,
comes.
maybe. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
He'll play the FF7 Fortnite clone that's on mobile right now, instead of the actual.
So that is
Maybe. I'll play Final Fantasy VII for Minecraft.
To be honest, Felipe, at least
Before we
Persona.
end-
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Before we end, I do want to hear what you guys think the third title will be.
Oh.
So, it's going to be another R word for sure. We have Remake and Reborn. What's the third one going to be, you guys think? What are your guesses?
Rebirth.
Rebirth
Second
is
is
part 2.
Reborn. Third. So Rebirth part 2.
Second is
part 3
Rebirth.
might be
Reborn? Rebirth.
maybe Resurrection. Because you rebirth and then you're born, birth and then resurrection, like is in stay alive maybe. Or Redemption maybe.
Dude, Redemption actually could very well be likely.
Redemption is good.
The Redemption of Sephiroth.
But I'm just saying. No, he can't be redeemed. I don't know. Actually, but I'm talking about like no contest. I never played, so I don't know what
Yeah.
R could be. You know,
No, he's a bad guy,
reinforcement.
yeah.
No. Yeah.
Recast. Recast your spell. No, but honestly, Redemption makes sense.
A
And I-
recollection. Because, this is Nomura. And Nomura does Kingdom Hearts, all sorts of weird shit. So, like, it might be like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Remake, Recollection. Like 3 R's or something. Knowing him. 365 days over 2.
The fact that
Recollection is good.
the fact that they named the DLC Intergrade, which makes no sense, tells me that maybe they're gonna do a regrade or something that makes no sense. But Recollection, that's the winner. Just the closing note on the FF7 Part 2 Rebirth reveal is, I love how they show you Crisis Core Reunion, which is the same motor engine. And then right after they show you Cloud and Sephiroth walking on the mountain, which is when he has the flashback. I was like, wait. I know this. This is not Crisis Core. I know this. I recognize this. Oh my god. I started screaming when I saw that. Because no one believed it. Honestly, no one believed they were going to reveal it. Like, Crisis Core Reunion would have been enough.
Was it just me? Was it just me, or did it already look better than Intergrade? I was like, wait, they made this look even better than Intergrade? Like the 2, 5-second clips we saw of Cloud and Sephiroth walking that path, I was like, this already looks better than Intergrade. What?
It's also the fact that they're no longer in Midgard. We finally see like nature. It's gonna be welcome.
Yeah.
This was a long episode, but we skipped last week, so this is technically catch up for 2 weeks of E3 news. I don't think we'll ever have another episode this packed with video game news until like maybe the Game Award in December, which even then it won't be. So, Felipe, how did you feel about our Summer Game Informer Fest?
Overwhelmed and informed.
Do you feel hopeful for the future
Oh
of
my God.
video games?
Yes, I do. And I'm happy for the people that don't know Blockbuster, but they'll be able to experience such great titles like the Last of Us remake or RE4 remake and other great titles, or even this new Callisto horror and the VR. Maybe that's going the right direction. Like a brief earlier, even like No Man's Sky is getting a VR, and it's not horror, so VR is the next step in gaming.
If
But need to
Starfield
double
gets
down that.
VR, it will be the next Sword Art Online. Could you imagine 1,000 planets in VR, completely immersed? Anyways, um,
And you're going to the same trend. The thing that Nintendo could do is Star Fox VR.
where would Microsoft release their VR games though? Because PSVR, we have PSVR, the Oculus, and the Half-Life one. Do you realize that Valve, who owns Steam, is so rich that they released a new Half-Life and made it only for VR and only with their VR platform? The what's it called, Matt? The VR of Steam, of Valve. That's Half-Life Alex was on.
The Index. There
The
we go.
Index. So
The Index.
Valve is so
Oh.
rich that they released a VR headset for one game, which is a new Half-Life that people have been begging for 20 years for, and they just literally trolled everyone. If
And it's
Sony,
not Half-Life 3, but that's marketing potential there.
a lot of people say it's basically Half-Life
It
3.
sounds
Half-Life 3 is never happening. Half-Life 3 is never happening. And it's been like almost 20 years now. It's not happening.
Sony has
It's-
to open the wallets and pay Valve to release Half-Life Alyx on PSVR 2, and that will change VR forever. Because PSVR 2 is apparently incredible experience, but you need to buy an index to experience it, so no one can experience it. So if you get Resident Evil 8 and Half-Life Alyx already, that's a good reason to buy a PSVR 2 for me anyway. But I digress.
Yeah.
This has been,
Yeah.
and by the way, this episode is very long, and all the pictures that we added, keep in mind, all of this can be a different clip. So with this
Yes.
episode
Yeah.
alone, we could have like 2 weeks of content of clips.
Yeah, just gotta like make it easily digestible for like the people.
Yeah, exactly. So that has been the summer. The
Summer Game
games.
Informers Fest.
Summer Games Informers Fest. I was like, what's the title again?
It's
How-
the Summer Informers.
So I have no more closing comments. Do you have any closing comments, Matt?
The closing comments. I'm like 30 hours into. No, 15 hours into Arceus. Still not really digging it, but making my way through it. Started playing the first game from Last Stand's Collins Game
Really?
Studio, and it's like an arcade shooter. And that's been fun.
Habroxia?
Otherwise, yeah, Habroxia. There you go. I was forgetting the name. I started playing that. I'm not good at it. I'm like, oh wow, I'm not good at this, but it's fun. That's my closing comments. Just
Felipe's
wanted to
closing
mention
comments?
those two things.
I just wanna say that I'm keeping up with Obi-Wan and Ms. Marvel, and fun fact, there is one character in Ms. Marvel named Rashid. That's all I'm gonna
Yes.
say.
I saw the latest
There's
episode
a character
today.
named Rashid, and that's all. Like, haha.
And that was a teaser for
That's
next
all.
week's episode, which will be focused on the TV series that we have been watching. This has been the Otaku Informers podcast. Thank God.
And stay informed. Yeah, stay informed, folks.